I just got to show you the vice president. He went to Quantico today and he gave some remarks. But before I show you his remarks, number seven, Sam, it's just something you don't see every day. Here's the vice president of the United States laying down some fire at Quantico. I'm just going to watch the whole thing. Nothing much different happens except this, but that's the vice president of the United States.
Ready? Thanks, man. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for showing me around. All right, sir, we got one more station for you.
All right. Now, the guy has what the British call joie de vivre. And if you like that and you're a Vance fan, watch this. This will be number 8. This is the vice president at Quantico giving his remarks. And this is just old school oratory. Check it out.
No more quotas, no more ridiculous mumbo jumbo, no more diversity trainings. We believe the real strength and the real diversity in the United States Marine Corps is that you all come from every walk of life, come from every corner of America, and you have got the strength and the purpose to win the nation's wars. And that is what the Marine Corps is going to do, just like it's done for damn near 250 years.
All right. Vice President's one of the great, most interesting stories from a journalistic point of view of this administration so far. Welcome in. Thank you for joining. Tell us about your relationship with the Vice President. How well do you know him? What do you think of him?
I live in the Bay Area with my family, and JD for a while was there, of course, as working in venture capital, Peter Thiel's company. So we met a few times and then lost touch a little bit. And more recently have gotten back in touch, and I've gotten in touch with some of the people around him. So I know him a little bit. I wouldn't overstate that. The main thing, just to finish, would be I think of him as just an incredibly warm and decent human being, honestly. That's my sort of overriding impression of him.
Yeah. So I agree with you. And I think he's in some ways misunderstood, in part because people don't understand that he's a warm person. But the other thing, and if I ever have 20 minutes, I'm going to write this piece. Bill Clinton in the 80s and 90s, really the 70s and 80s and into the 90s, was part of something that Sidney Blumenthal, the former New Republic writer and wrote other places, he called The Conversation. And he said Bill and Hillary were at the center of the conversation, where they, governors associations, academia, different democratic groups, just this conversation, part intellectual, part policy, part politics, part media. They just sort of talked a lot to really smart people about where was the country now, where was it headed. And I think that JD Vance has been at the center of a new and different kind of conversation that you've been part of as well, which is this populist, muscular attempt to think about things in a way to reorder. And as I've said many times, I'll keep using the line until somebody tells me I'm using it too much. He speaks MAGA with a suburban accent, and he makes the ideas that animate the movement accessible to intellectuals, suburban parents, working class voters in a way that derives, I think, in part from his central role in the conversation. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that I mean, it's interesting when you put it that way. That word muscular is interesting. I use that a lot now in the context of what I think we need in California to make the changes that we can talk about in a minute. But in terms of JD, I think that's right, and I think he was there early. And I think it's interesting that you bring out that consistency, because I think he has been consistent. People have pointed out, they've thrown the quotes back at him about Trump during the first campaign, and that fair enough, but I think he really was talking. I believe him. I believe JD when I believe his explanation, which was actually, I wasn't arguing with Trump on the policy front or on the philosophical front or any of this populist stuff that he was talking about. I just didn't really believe that he would deliver it. And I didn't believe that he was the best vehicle for delivering it. So it's kind of a personal thing. And I do think JD's been very consistent on the ideas front for a very long time.